I know I'm gonna catch this, but I gotta say it. Number one, I am a Christian, but I'm not perfect, and I don't expect anybody else to be so. We're saved by grace, okay? As my uncle said, he's a cussing Christian, so am I. I'm trying to work on not doing that, among other things. But I really have a problem with false teaching. I have a problem with a lot of stuff that church culture in America is doing. The church in this culture has been transmogrified to such a degree that it has lost its ability to cut with a clear, sharp sword. As I stated in my videos past, the church has done nothing to stop the rise of totalitarian, Democrat, self-centered leaders that are killing more babies, producing more violent movies, that all of the so-called Christian influence in the United States has done nothing to stem the tide of despicable evil in this country. That for us being a predominantly Christian nation, we're one of the rudest people groups in the world. If you don't believe me, go look at how people drive their cars. It's ridiculous. And yes, my hair is a mess. It's drying. I washed it and I didn't bother to comb it. I don't need to. So, wow, this is a disaster. Forgive me for the vanity. I've said for a long time, Christians can't even drive their automobile properly. They don't think that turn signal, speed limit, and rolling through red lights. They don't think that that's a reflection of their poor witness for Christ. They don't. But I've noticed over the years that we've had this ecumenical, sloopy, sludgy, Orange Julius blender type product, and it still goes on. Now it's led by the son of Jerry B. Jenkins, who's got the gelled hair, strange looking face. I know that's not his fault, but you look at these Christians and they're just caught up in being strange. Now, I'm different, I know that, but they all look the same. They're cookie cutter. They want to pull on emotions. And now we have this production called The Chosen. I haven't seen it. I was doing some reading about it tonight. The Mormons are involved with this. I mean, let's put on the brakes right there. Mormons believe that Jesus is the brother of the devil. That's fact. They believe that Mary came down or God came down and had sex with Mary to produce Jesus. And yeah, they also have the belief in polytheism, the belief in many gods, that Mormons believe they are gods. And I've had so many encounters with Mormons. I know their stuff is false. It does not line up with the word of God on any level. It's a no-brainer. Joseph Smith was a troubled boy, and his father was involved in shady activities and selling bogus treasure maps, and his family was scorned in Palmyra, New York. That the Mormon church exists today with all of that background is testimony to how stupid people are in the continental United States. The 1800s saw the rise of three distinct false religions: Jehovah's Witness, the Jehovah's Witness movement, Christian Science, the Mormon Church, and I'm going to catch up for this, but the aberrant teachings of SDA, otherwise known as Seventh-day Adventists. Now, there are Seventh-day Adventists who believe you have to come to Christ, but Seventh-day Adventists don't believe in a literal hell. They don't believe it's eternal. They don't believe in eating meat, and that's fine. People have the right to make their choices, but that's not under New Testament grace. They believe that the Sabbath is not being adhered to, and every seminar I've gone to under the SDA, that's right. Every place that I've gone where they had a seminar by the Seventh-day Adventists, they harped on how all the other churches don't follow the Sabbath. Okay. The New Testament doesn't say anything about honoring the Sabbath, but the New Testament does talk about don't steal, don't sit on your butt, get a job, Work with your own hands. It teaches you sexual immorality is not okay, and our culture is rife with it. It's even existed in me. We have a problem in America where everybody wants to be entertained. The church is no exception. The church went from a mighty steam engine back in the day, Jonathan Edwards, D.L. Moody, H.A. Ironsides. If you guys don't know these names, I strongly urge you to look them up. John Wesley, who started what turned into the United Methodist Church, and the United Methodist Church became the United Methodists, and they walked away from biblical truth and embraced a social gospel. Now we have a generation of Christians that grew up on Veggie Tales and silly, dumb, absolutely pointless, dumb entertainment stuff. Did you ever see Jonah by Veggie Tales? It had absolutely nothing to do with the biblical account. Calling the Ninevites fish slappers and dumb, silly, trivializing the Bible. And now we have this emotionally tear-jerking, Jesus Chosen movie. And it's like, what is this doing to change us? Nothing. No offense. I read the Left Behind series. I got caught up in it. But even in the Left Behind series, LaHaye and Jenkins both followed a pattern that is predominant in American cultural Christianity, not biblical. America has a lot of cultural Christianity. Everybody's got SUVs, and there's the hot blonde who's Chloe, and Rayford Steele's the handsome built. It's like, I don't care where you go in this country, but your popular authors, your white popular authors, they just marry influence and wealth and have it all with Christianity. And it's like, no. Greg Laurie is a ego trip. Didn't meet him face to face, but I saw him in Prescott, Arizona. He had these cute little fishy tracks about how to effectively witness. And Greg Laurie has followed the ecumenical ups and downs and been very much a proponent of it. And these people are making big money. Big money. They are not what I call clarion calls of doctrinal, absolute scriptural truth. And I tell people all the time, get away from all this entertainment. Get away from these cult pastors and these iconic household Christian American names and get your face into the book. Get your face in the book. These people are making big money off this. It's like Rick Warren when he had the purpose-driven life, and I dubbed it the wallet-driven purpose. It absolutely is the wallet-driven purpose. He made a comment, why can't we have the same music in church we play on our car stereos? Well, because most of what you play on your car stereo sucks, and if I hear that in church, I'm not going. And I've told Christians it's okay to like secular stuff as long as it doesn't violate the principles in the written word of God. If you're going to listen to a song that glorifies things that God is not okay with, well, we got to check ourselves. But Christian music, I went through that roller coaster. We all know about Amy Grant. She came out with Straight Ahead, My Father's Eyes, El Shaddai. She wooed all the older generation of church saints, and Amy loves the Lord. And Amy went from that to a meteoric rise to falling into an affair with Vince Gill, and her husband, Gary Chapman, who was a music producer and Christian name, was a drug addict. And Nashville is full of Christian artists, and you can't tell the difference between them and the world around them. Michael W. Smith had teenage girls swooning and all emotional over his songs. What is this? The Chosen is another spate, another middle-class Christian, comfy, cozy, snow globe attempt to tear-jerk the feelings of people to get a better view of Jesus. John MacArthur says it's full of error. No, I'm sorry. John MacArthur makes a fat salary, and I got a problem with it. But John MacArthur preaches truth. John MacArthur preaches truth. And I'm going to tell y'all something. You want to like something, go ahead. That's your business. But when you have something declaring itself to represent Bible and it doesn't, run. And am I selling myself? No, there's nothing to sell. I'm not a monetized YouTube guy. I'm not big. Never will be. Don't listen to these people. Greg Laurie is swirling in his head and his, popularity, and he's just always running the current and the tide of popular Christian cultural tides that come and go. Anybody remember the WWJD bracelets? All the teenage girls are wearing them. And you ask them, do you know what that means? And the answer is really no. The WWJD bracelet movement started off a book that was actually written by Charles Sheldon in his steps. And it's a story back in the day of a preacher who stood up and said to his congregation, you need to ask yourself, this was in old days, what would Jesus do? And one of the Christians in there had rented one of his buildings out to a bar. And after listening to Pastor's sermon, he said, after your lease is up, I'm not renewing. And the events in the book, the results of people in the congregation taking seriously what would Jesus do, and we ought to ask ourselves, would Jesus look at porn and do we need to ask that? Would Jesus say, F you, you pig, F-U-C-K-E-R? Would Jesus laugh at dirty jokes? Would he troll somebody on the internet and gaslight people? I have, because I've been gaslighted. If we really ask what would Jesus do, it'd be like a bomb going on in front of our life. But everybody caught the WWJD bracelet. The silly Christian bookstores started making money off bric-a-brac for Jesus, and that movement came and went. Everybody remember Promise Keepers? I do. Started with Coach McCartney, and I went to Mile High Stadium, and they told the people, do not throw stuff or fly airplanes onto the field. They were told that. Do you know how many styrofoam planes went off from the section above me? I mean, sailed onto the field. And people got mad because they weren't allowed to get them. Hey, Christians, you guys talk about being obedient, and you were told by the stadium authorities, you can have this event here, but leave the field alone. We're getting it ready for football season. Don't be sending stuff down there. I do remember one funny moment, though. Somebody threw one of those foam planes way up, and I saw it go out, and it went straight down into the stands. And some guy with a southern accent somewhere in the stands nearby said, oh, that must have been a value jet. I laughed. Promise Keepers came and went. The Purpose-Driven Life came and went. Henry Blackaby's Experiencing God came and went. Why don't you read a book called The Pursuit of Holiness? It's like eating rice cakes with no salt or flavoring. But the Pursuit of Holiness actually has more power in it than these pop psychology movements and books today. And Promise Keepers was. It was a crowd wave. It's gone. It ended. And we are always trying to invent the wheel, to have some sort of emotional pep rally When what we need to do is admit to ourselves, there's nothing that's going to galvanize us into action except us submitting to God and the Holy Spirit and doing what He says. I don't need helps like some emotional tear-jerking Hallmark movie by the son of Jerry B. Jenkins to get that done. And John MacArthur said there is nothing as powerful as the Word of God. And that's been lost on this church culture. It's been lost on the gelled public speakers in Christendom that, well, we want to reflect the values of Christ. Well, goody for you. I don't talk like you. I don't cut my hair like you. I will not, cannot want to be like you, Sam. I am not in a roller coaster car, not in a church from afar. I am me. And I believe in the Trinity. And this is the problem. If you don't get behind the bus load of all the silly Christians going, wee, there's something wrong with you in their eyes. And go back at a time before America had Christian radio, Christian TV, Christian rock, Christian bookstores, household name preachers, and ask yourself, all this stuff that we have, how much good has it done for the glory of God? Anything that has a meteoric rise and a meteoric crash is not of God. Okay, let me make that very clear. And you go back. Go back to John Wesley. He preached against alcohol. He preached so hard that bar owners repented and shut their bars down. When men of God back in the day preached just the power of the word, they had no PowerPoint presentations. They had no electric guitars up front. Jonathan Edwards stood in a church in New England, I believe it was Connecticut or Massachusetts, way back in the 1700s. And he preached with such fire that people were standing they were in the pews in the congregation, in an old style church with the pillars in the middle. People were grabbing the pillars in fear after Jonathan Edwards' sermon that they thought the floor was going to bust away with the flames of the lake of fire and they were going to drop in. A revival swept New England back in the day. This is a documented fact. And we got snow globe Christians wanting more Hallmark movies and entertainment to make them feel emotional and good. And how are these people changing the culture for Jesus Christ? Anybody want to take a guess? Double-digit zeros. They believe that that's witnessing. They're not reaching the gangbangers. They're not reaching the kind of people here that I deal with in northeastern Georgia. This is a tough damn place. And they'll get your goat down here. They're not interested in the chosen. They have no knowledge of Greg Laurie and they don't care. They're not interested in that white snow globe, cultural, blended. When I saw churches years ago, blended worship, I thought, boy, that's like somebody putting eggs and sausage and Waffle House and IHOP all in a blender and say, here you go. And you just want to go, ugh. Forgive me. I'm 57 and I listen to a lot of secular music. But when I go to church, I don't want to hear 7-Eleven stupid choruses made by this flake generation. And if that offends the silly little Christians out there, good. I hope it scalds you. Because you're going to tell me that your substitute for the grand old hymns is, come, now is the time to really Vineyard, Hillsong. Look at Hillsong. The pastor was messing around with women on the Hillsong. Oh, yeah. Tell me. This is not just my opinion. There's crappy, cheesy music, and there's hymns. And in this generation, I love rock and roll. Put another dime in the church organ, baby. And that's what happened. And the young generation didn't care about the old people and their feelings. The Bible talks about if what you do creates a stumbling block to your brother, that's a no-no. But no, we have swamp pastors with the gelled back hair. Hey, man, being strange. Say, well, it doesn't matter. We're not gonna bother with the old people. They're just legalistic. It's a new generation. No, it's offensive to them. Paul says, I will put away my freedom so that I don't cause my brother to stumble. But the young generation basically went like this in the name of Jesus, so they could have Stryper and Petra and Michael W. Smith. And I'm going to tell you that act alone, the church also is doing what the culture of young people are today and have no respect for the elderly. There's going to be a generation of Christians that I know of today that are going to stand before God and give an account for that. And I don't care. You tell me whether it's Skillet or these dumb groups or Josh Groban or I don't even care. Emotionally driven preset sounds on a Casio, manufactured in Nashville. I'm sorry. I get more mileage out of hearing the pipes. A mighty fortress is our God, a bulwark never failing. See, snow globe Christians don't have the struggles I and most of the rest of us do. They got their investment portfolios. They can go on a cruise with Dr. Charles Stanley, Christian cruise. They can go on Christian Israel trips. They don't know what suffering is. They don't know what I know. Oh, they've heard of Titanic, but I've studied shipwrecks. And when a steamship sank, and a wife said, I'm saved, but our children have died. And when it was at Horatio Spafford, bought a ticket to go on a liner going, I don't remember if it was to New York or Southampton, but he asked the captain to tell him where the ship had sunk that his wife was on, and he said, okay. And the captain let him know, and he looked over the rail into the icy cold Atlantic. Looked down in the icy cruel waters, and he went down to his stateroom and he penned the following words. When peace like a river attended my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot thou hast taught me to say, even so it is well with my soul. What is my point in all this? The most beautiful stuff that comes out of Christianity comes through suffering and fire, not snow globe Christians. Okay? The Negro spirituals were sung by black men who worked their butts off, who were beaten, who were abused, who were maltreated, who were not recognized as equals with their slave owners. But when they got together and sang these songs out of their suffering and pain, they had the joy of God. The blender generation of Christians, they have no effect. They're so busy trying to, not offend everybody and reach across the aisle. Well, Mormons have family values. Mormons are going to hell. Boom! What are you thinking? Stand up. They don't believe in the gospel. I'm so tired of people saying, well, there can be Mormons, Christians in the Mormons. Then tell them to get out. Get out. If you're a Christian, get out of the LDS religion. You don't belong there. If you're a Christian, get out of the Catholic Church. Why are you submitting to a pope who calls himself infallible? Hello? If you have the Holy Spirit in you, the Holy Spirit is not going to be at peace with you sitting, resting, and dwelling in the midst of a perverse, false religion. And Christians today have lost sight of that. They worship Christmas. They worship Halloween, call it trunk or treat. They worship Easter. Christians can't even get away from the pagan terminologies. They're so intertwined with it. That they say, Happy Easter. I don't respond. I don't celebrate Easter. I celebrate he is not here. He is risen, just like he said. The Bible talks about in 2 Timothy 3, having a form of godliness but denying the power. Who's that talking about? Who is that talking about? You be the judge. I'd say it's a lot of these American silly cotton candy Christians that listen to Joel Osteen, listen to Greg Laurie, listen to more tear-jerking Hallmark stuff. Yeah, people want their comfort zone, don't they? They ain't changing the world. They obviously aren't paying attention to the swirling crap of 2020 and the riots and the political thing. Well, we don't focus on that. We focus on Jesus. Well, you better focus on that. Because the way this administration is going, I'm praying Jesus will come real soon. Boom. So the next one is one of the speakers today, not the preacher, but the guy that gives the announcement, said something about Franklin Graham. Something is writing a Bible over in Europe that's called the DEI. It's diversity, ethnicity, and inclusion. He said, I don't know if this is good or bad news. So I did some looking. It was hard to find. And I was speaking to my uncle last night. He was talking about his son, my cousin. He said, yeah, his son, my cousin's son guess he's enrolled in school, and he says they're teaching what really happened to the blacks. And I think that's good. And I thought, oh gosh. You would think that'd be good. I had to tell my uncle, I said, you know why they're doing that, right? And my uncle grew up in Virginia. He grew up south. His father hired blacks to work in his fields. His dad was a farmer. I said, Uncle, they're shaming whites is what they're doing. They're shaming us. You tell a lie long enough, it gains traction. All right, don't get that falling on there. Hold on, I have to check this. I know this is stupid for me to do this. Yeah, I'll give that a try. That might be good. I apologize. I'll get back to you a little bit. I'm doing a live video right now. I'm not perfect. Those same snow globe Christians will judge me on all fronts. The long hair, the language, the chain necklace, my dressing style, whatever. They'd have a field day. But you know what? That's okay. I still have more influence than most of them. And even though I have my problems, I think everybody can verify that I don't twist the Bible and make it walk on all fours. I tell people that book is damning against all of us and our silly rationalizations. the Bible is not a book to mess around with. You either believe it or you reject it. There's no middle ground. And to listen to Christians trying to be ecumenical and play footsie with this religion and that religion and make more edutainment that's mixed with yeast and leaven. Jesus talked about that. He said right to his disciples, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. And one of the disciples says, it is because we brought no bread. What a bunch of clowns. And Jesus says, what do you mean, no bread? Did you not see me feed the 5,000? Hey, it's an analogy, man. These people, these religious leaders are teaching you all this crap. That is the leaven I'm talking about. The Pharisees were so concerned about being self-righteous that they failed to realize they missed the ship of God's grace because, wait for it, Jesus Christ is standing in their presence, the holy God, 3 in 1, and they're saying, you drive these demons out by Beelzebub. Can you imagine? Grown men claiming to be the religious elite are hurling insults at God himself. Emmanuel, God with us, God incarnate. Does that even hit us as Christians? No wonder Jesus got tired of them. His harshest words were for them. And the same thing is happening in evangelicalism. We have a form of religion, deny the power thereof. The word of God is no longer powerful. Now we have to have PowerPoint presentations and motivational speakers like Osteen and Greg Laurie and all these little cult personas making goo-gobs of moolah. I think we did this before, but let's have fun anyway, shall we? Now, who else is messaging me? That's funny. Hey Siri, Greg Laurie's net worth.
Greg Laurie's net worth was $20 million in 2021.
Greg Laurie is an American evangelical author, pastor, and evangelist who serves as senior pastor of Harvest Christian Fellowship based in Riverside, California. Most of what comes out of California is wrong. Let's see. He is also the founder of Harvest Crusades. Laurie is also the subject of the 2023 film Jesus Revolution, which tells the story of how he converted to Christianity and got his start of ministry in the midst of the Jesus movement. Ex-hippie's doing pretty well. $20 million. I mean, can we talk about this? And John MacArthur, who preaches truth. Hey, Siri, what is John MacArthur's net worth?
John MacArthur's net worth was $5 million in 2022.
I believe that's since been updated. Hey, Siri, what is Rick Warren's net worth?
Rick Warren's net worth was $25 million in 2023.
He's the one that wrote The Purpose-Driven Life. That's why I call it The Wallet-Driven Purpose. When you have a motivational book that mixes psychology and feel-goodism with teeny little shreds of Christian truth, you become worth $25 million. Let's keep going. We're not even going to talk about Benny Hinn and the Clown Show, okay? That's Barnum and Bailey and Ringling Brothers over there. We're talking about mainline evangelicals, okay? Hey, Siri, what is David Jeremiah's net worth? Hey, Siri, David Jeremiah's net worth.
David Jeremiah's net worth was $50 million in 2023.
Dr. David Jeremiah is an American evangelical Christian author, founder of Turning Point Radio and Television Ministries, and senior pastor of Shadow Mountain Community Church, a Southern Baptist megachurch in El Cajon, California, a suburb of San Diego. $50 million. Ministry pays good money. Good money. I will always criticize that. Is David Jeremiah speak biblical truth? He does. So does MacArthur. MacArthur's worth is more than 5, by the way. $50 million. Hey Siri. Pastor Chuck Smith's net worth.
Okay, I found this on the web for Pastor Chuck Smith net worth. Check it out.
$25 million. He's the one that started the Calvary Chapel non-denominational movement. Now, this is a fact. I've attended Calvary Chapels. They are a denomination. I don't care what anybody says. They prided themselves that they're non-denominational, meaning not Baptist, Presbyterian, Methodist, or Lutheran. But they're a denomination. They're a sect, okay? And that movement, I went through the spin cycle of all of that. Joel Osteen. Hey Siri. Joel Osteen's net worth.
Joel Osteen's net worth was $56.5 million in 2012.
Okay, that's not up to date. We're going to get an up to date on that. I believe it's 100 million. That is not up to date. 2012, that's 12 years ago. Joel Osteen's net worth. Okay, it's saying it's estimated to have a net worth of over $50 million, with his church taking in $43 million a year collections. I believe it's more than that. That hasn't been updated. Let's see. Anybody else? It is insane. It's just wrong. It's wrong. And if you're truly in ministry, ministry is going to hurt. It's going to be sacrificed. Ministry is not supposed to be a glorious hayride, but let's continue on. Hey Siri. Charles Stanley net worth.
Charles Stanley's net worth was $1.5 million in 2019.
Hey Siri. Charles Stanley's annual salary.
Okay, I found this on the web for Charles Stanley annual salary. Check it out.
At nearly 90, Charles Stanley makes $500,000 a year, and his ministry is awash in cash. $500,000 a year is his salary. Televangelism still pays very well. He's in charge of In Touch Ministries, the non-profit organization. Don't you love that? Non-profit organization. Somebody's profiting. Oh, yeah, well, they went down in flames, but we'll do that. Hey, Siri. Jim and Tammy Faye Baker net worth.
Okay, I found this on the web for Jim and Tammy Faye Baker net worth. Check it out.
See, they took a hit when he had to go to jail. Jim Baker's an American televangelist and minister with a net worth of $500,000. He gained fame as the host of a Christian TV program, the PTL Club, which means Pay the Lord. Not making that up. During their heyday, the couple received an astounding $1 million in weekly viewer contributions for their ministry. However, their success was marred by scandal and controversy. Yeah, air-conditioned doghouses, an amusement park, and all kinds of bumfoolery. Hey Siri. T.D. Jakes' net worth.
T.D. Jakes' net worth was $20 million in 2021.
Remember, whites are privileged. Look at this photo. Whites are privileged. T.D. Jakes is wrong doctrinally most of the time. Most of the time. He's charismatic. Hey Siri. Joyce Meyer's net worth.
Joyce Meyer's net worth was $8 million in 2021.
I don't hear about her anymore. I just wonder if she went away. Hey Siri. Paula White's net worth.
Paula White Kane's net worth was $5 million in 2019.
That's it. I'm shocked. I think those numbers are higher. Who's the other clown on the ship of fools out there? Hey Siri, Chuck Swindoll's net worth.
Chuck Swindoll's net worth was $1 million in 2023.
Now I'm surprised. I thought he'd be worth more than that. He was a preacher out of the church in Fullerton, California. But Rick Warren was the pastor, I think he might still be on the staff of Saddleback Community Church. But when he wrote that book, The Purpose-Driven Life, his bank account just went into rollover mode. How can somebody write a book that makes so much money and that's called ministry? Hey Siri, Franklin Graham's net worth.
Franklin Graham's net worth was $10 million in 2017.
This is the one who does Operation Christmas Child. You know, get a shoebox, put a bunch of crap in it, send it to Africa. That's a witness, by the way. That's the churches. This is an example of snow globe culture gone bad. And we're going to promote a pagan holiday to underprivileged kids in other cultures that have never seen a Hot Wheel or some of the toys that we have over here. And they've got their little Hallmark commercials. I've seen them every week. Once they start this, they'll show them every week before the message is preached. Like some woman in Yugoslavia saying, I didn't have shoes. I had tore up shoes. And when I opened up my Operation Christmas Child, I got a pair of shoes. Okay, now I want to make it clear. I'm not saying God can't use things to reach people. What did the Apostle Paul say? Some preach Christ trying to harm me. But what did he say? Whether in truth or pretense, I rejoice that Christ is preached. I'd rather have people preaching the truth of the Word of God than not at all. Okay? But using Christmas, using materialism and toys, do you think that Franklin Graham could get a galley of men and women to go overseas and dig wells and ditches and aqueducts into these villages and do something that actually helps them? No. Who wants to do that? So silly, very, very well financially healed Christians could feel good about going to Dollar Tree or to Walmart and stuffing a bunch of little trinkets in a box. Just my opinion. Don't shoot me. Theologically, David Jeremiah is square on. So is MacArthur. So is MacArthur. And I've read MacArthur. I have a couple books by him I recommend. Charismatic Chaos, outstanding expose against the modern tongues and hoopla movement, I call it. And he had another book called The Adversary, which is talking about the devil. And David Jeremiah has some good biblical eschatology. So let me make it very clear. I have a problem with their salaries. And I struggle with their congregations. Look at the camera when they're on. These are not folks like me and you. These are well-to-do. These are people living the good life in SoCal. And they're pulling down good money. My question is what are they doing to change this wicked society? What influence are they having? But let me be fair to my viewers. Let me do something in front of you that I've never done before, and let's analyze me. For years I was on YouTube. I had 3,500 subs at one time, and you all know what happened there. No need to beat a dead horse. And I've made my mistakes. All my stuff blown out there, Maharani, and all the dumb things I've done. You know, I'm 57 now, and guess what? You grow, you learn, you look back on some of the things you do, and you face palm. Oh, gosh. Oops! But I followed my heart, and I was honest about it, and I put myself out there. And there is always a risk when you do that. But do I have a channel or not? The people that like my channel are ones that I'm preaching to the choir. So how much difference am I making? Just a thought. I'm preaching to those of you that agree. And so how's that changing the culture? And if you really think about it, America's divided into camps and encampments. Oh, do you drive a Subaru and have a golden retriever? Oh, yeah, oh, good. You can be my friend. Do you go to Starbucks? Do you like their mocha? Oh, we can get squeezy together. The only people that are going to listen to me are two types. Ones that like and look forward to the content, or the one that lits like a butterfly and says, oh, God, who is this guy? Roadrunner. You know, I've reached a few people. They have my number. We call, we talk. Sometimes some of them forget, and this isn't directed at anybody who's watching at all. Some of them forget I have a life. And I can't always get back to them. So I ask myself, what is my difference? Who gets to rate that on a scale? How about last night down at the club? All I did was sit on the church pew in the club. I didn't even get my soda water. The house stereo was playing good music, but when the DJ came, the first song he put on for the night was Birthday Bitch. And I said, okay, I'm done. Bye. I'm not going to listen to this stupid ghetto stuff. We have DJs that come in and are good, but this guy went straight to the heart of shitville as far as music goes. But there's a black lady who's in her mid-30s. She's very tall, very slender, and she's a hair salon. She does hair and nails, and she does a beautiful job, and she can model very well. And she's not a believer. She always comes by, as she's walking by, runs her fingers through her hair, leans over and plants a beautiful kiss on my cheek, sometimes on my lips. She walked back and forth a couple times, touching me as she go by. I'm leaning, I feel that. I said, hey, come here. What? I said, come sit down. You're like a butterfly. You flutter by. Can you elit for a moment? Okay. She leans against me, and I put my arms around her like this. And she stretches all the way out on the pew with her legs all the way down. She goes, you know, I love you. I said, I love you too. You're a work of art. She turns around and faces me. She goes, no, you are. I can smell her hair. And I said, how was that? Because you sat and listened to me one night when I came in depressed. Somebody had raped her. She went through some trauma. I said, why do you think I did something? No matter what happens to your life, I will tell people there's nothing worth killing yourself for. But you don't understand, man. You encouraged me when I was down. You listened to me. And I said, how can I not? She stayed there leaning against me, and she said, I'm just trying to say you made a difference, and I'll never forget that. Now, did I make a difference for eternity? Probably not. One of the students that I work with, and I have to say this again, I do not drive a school bus, but an African-American woman gave me $50 and a card, which was the family portrait. And she put some very heartfelt words on there and said, when I see you, I have peace. And my son is in good hands. Does anybody know what it means to have that kind of confidence? Does anybody know what that means in a day and age where there's no integrity and things are just stupid dumb today? But am I making a difference for the eternal gospel? I'm going to let God be the judge of that. I'm not so sure-footed. We all get caught up in our agenda, our bent, there are times like the last week, I just faced myself and said, you know, God, I'm sick and tired of giving into this shit that I give into. And the minute that came out of my mouth, I said, that right there proves I'm a child of God. Because if you're not a child of God, you don't care. You don't care. When you're a child of God, you know there's a new nature in you that says, no, this is not okay, Pacific. And so it is with you. If you're a Christian, you know deep down inside that that little thing you're doing is wrong. We don't need other people to judge and condemn us. The Holy Spirit is in there going, yo. That's it. That's it. I'm not conventional. I will never be a David Jeremiah. I will never be worth $1 million. I will never be worth $500,000. Well, I could conceivably get there. Could, but I doubt it. And it doesn't matter. God didn't call me to be them. He called me to be Michael. I'm not the next Billy Graham. I'm not the next preacher, teacher. I'm not. I'm just called to be what he wants me to be. And what is that? I don't know. I mean, I know there's some things in the Bible that tell us, be holy. Am I holy all the time? No. It's not easy to be holy in this world, is it? It's not. And I'm not trying to attack Greg Laurie. He's not my cup of tea. Is he a brother in Christ? Yeah. Is he somebody I'm going to hang out with and feel good about hanging out? He wouldn't feel good hanging around with me, so no. I'm sorry. But in the faith, just like Beth Moore, I don't want to sit and have coffee with that woman. That's another clown on the list. I want to show you something. I helped a coworker of mine move stuff from her daughter's rental house to a storage unit. She paid me, and when she gave me the denomination of payment in money, you guys are gonna love this. I was putting the money in my wallet and I saw this. Somebody stamped that on a dollar bill. Let's go, Brandon. I'm like, oh. I looked at her and said, did you see this? Now, I don't believe she's conservative. She is an African-American woman. She goes, why would somebody put that on there? I said, I think it's funny. I thought I would just leave it right there. I'm not going to explain it to her. Let's go, Brandon. It's beautiful. I passed it around through my phone. I said, y'all got to see this one. And no, I didn't do it. I don't have that red stamp inker. I wish I did. Everything. I'd put it on every gas station, everything. I'd put it down the whole food aisle at Walmart. Let's get this guy out of here. I'm looking at the comments. And now that's a good one. That's a very good one. Maybe that should be a video topic, but I don't want to promise you because I'm not totally qualified. I grew up with a mother who made me feel guilty all my life. And I still wrestle with that crap to this day. I had a discussion with my uncle last night. He and his son, my cousin, are the only two people from the family that adopted me I have any contact with. And my folks are still alive. They're somewhere running around Arizona. And my uncle was telling me a piece of the past regarding my mother, and we were comparing notes, and my uncle said, I remember when your aunt and I, which they were married at one time, my aunt and my uncle, He said your mother would come over and say, oh, Michael's off his diet again. You could tell. He said, I heard that so much. And then one day, I remember anything you did, you must have eaten something wrong. And I laughed. I said, yeah, I moved to Duluth as an adult. That when I'd walk across a crosswalk and somebody run through the light, when I have the right of way to get that close to my body, I'd get angry. And in the first years in Duluth, I said, I must have gotten off my diet. I got mad. I had to actually self-talk myself out of that. I actually had to tell myself, Michael, it's normal to get upset when somebody endangers you in a vehicle. You know, you didn't put a rock through their windshield. It's okay to get annoyed at that. That's not a food allergy, man. I had to learn that. And I can look back at my life, and when I started to think for myself, you know, when you become a high school student, you start to reason and you start to get a little more clarity from the dumb junior high days. And my mother do some, and I'm like, what is going on with Planet Mom? And she'd get all stupid with me and rude in voice, and I'd be like, man, Mom, what is the problem? Oh, you got off your diet. Your voice is loud. You're flippity gibbet. My voice is loud. That was the thing. Your voice is getting louder. And I noticed when you eat something, you know, maybe I'm not Irish. Maybe I'm Italian. Mamma mia. You know, I raise my voice when I make a point. And there are some low pulse people that have had a problem with that. The way I am does not go well with northern Minnesota and the Midwest of the country. They cannot deal with me. Said Mr. Craig, when I was working at the bus company in Duluth years ago, I was talking excitedly to a coworker, and Craig, sitting across the room, says, I bet you if you were to look at Michael's mind, it looked like a damn pinball machine with all the lights. Bing, 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 bing. And I laughed. I said, that was funny, but that was so wrong. When you are different from the society around you, right or wrong, you are going to get feedback, and you're going to be criticized to no end. Yes, somebody's been putting them on the gas stations here. I pulled up at a Raceway gas station and got the finger pointing at the price, and I'm like, yeah, somebody's been laying them out around here too. And this is really heavily Democrat, but some people are getting tired of this. But that's awesome. Let's go, Brandon. That guy at a football game started all that, and it just fits. We just need to start saying, get up and go, Brandon. I had to untrain myself, or rather, I had to train myself to override the veto of my mother and her so-called assessment of me. Does Michael believe that I'm perfect? No. Does Michael believe he doesn't have problems? No. Does Michael believe he's arrived in Christendom in this holy, pious walk? No, I don't. Does Michael get mad when people disagree with him? No. And a lot of people on YouTube have a problem with that. Oh, he has a problem. Anybody says something he doesn't disagree with, he bans them. Yeah, you put fuck you, Pacific. Yeah, I'm going to ban your ass. You want to tell me fuck you? Bye. And I'll do that today. I'll do that with people at work. I did it in the bathroom the other day when some asshole couldn't wait to use the soap dispenser. Big black guy who's macho bullshit. 3 sinks. I come out the toilet stall. He's at the urinal. He's got the middle sink with the water running on high. I don't know what he's doing, but I didn't question it. I went to the sink to the right of that. Soap dispenser's on the right. There's actually one on the left wall. And the guy grunts, comes over. I washed my hands, took off my glasses. I'm leaning over the sink. My head's close to the mirror. And he grunts, and his big musky arm is coming up towards me. I said, yes. So, he said, can you wait a second? I'm almost done. No, man, move. I need to get some fucking soap, man. I said, can you wait? I'm trying to wash my glasses. Now, I've grown. Because 10 years ago, I would have done that. And the guy puts his hand right across my face to grab the soap dispenser. And I turned off the water, stood back, and I said, that was rude. I asked you to wait, and you can't even do that. He says, you better back up. I said, no, I'm not backing up, and I'm not going to bow to you or nobody else. That was wrong. There's rules. There's respect. There ain't no rules, man. I'm trying to get my soap. I said, it's called wait, Mr. Patient. I looked him in the eye, and I thought, fighting Irish, buddy. You want to? Then I walked out of the bathroom. I thought, there's no cameras in here. Let's keep this shit moving out in the hallway. Walked out. Mr. Big Mouth is running his damn mouth, and he says, you better watch yourself. You better back up. I said, I'm not backing up. I said, you're rude. You're stepping on my boundaries, and I don't appreciate it, and I ain't going to take it. He said something about a fight. I said, a fight? Fred, huh? I turned right around and walked towards him and past him. I said, I'll just talk to your boss. Oh, you're going to go tell? You're going to go tell? I said, darn right. I have rights in the workplace too, buddy. Not just you. And I did. I went to his big black boss, and I said, I'm not going to take this shit anymore. And another boss, another foreman, had heard the whole altercation, and he said, write that up on a piece of paper. He's out right now. Come back after you're done with your shift. Give it to me. The next day, another black guy came up to me, and this shocked me. We were outside the building. And he says, hey, I didn't get a chance to talk to you yesterday. I'm glad I get to see you now. He said, that shit that happened yesterday, did you turn that in? I said, yes, I did. He says, good. He said, that was a bunch of bullshit. Because he had come in the bathroom and saw that. I said, you tell me, was that a line? He says, absolutely not. He said, he's been a jerk to other people, but he said, I admire the fact you stood up to him. He said, they didn't fire his ass. He's no good anyway. Doesn't do anything. And I'm sorry to say this, folks. I'm not racist, but whites need to stop fearing these damn black people. That's a bunch of bullshit. We've been intimidated by them, and we know it. I'm not, because I live down here with them. Something's happening to me. You shit and stink on the toilet just like everybody else. Ooh! You know, when you act up, I'm going to stand on principle. And this is something that blacks need to get in their mind, that it's not about who can kick somebody's ass or pull out the pistol fast. It's about, what are you standing on? My ground is, I'm standing on what is right. You, and I told him, I said, you're stepping into my lane. Blacks know that term. They say, stay in your lane. I said, you're not staying in your lane. You don't put your hand across my face. I wouldn't do it to you. Don't do it to me. I'm going to tell you something. Did I change that man? Hell no. He's an idiot. Idiots are all around this country. But guess what? It felt good that I raised my voice and I said, no, you're not going to do this. You don't do this. And I am going to turn it in. Call me a snitch. When you won't back up, I'm going to go to the next level. I'm going to play by your game. And if they'd have fired him, I don't care. I really don't care. Michael doesn't do that to nobody. I would wait my turn. The guy's in the way between me and the soap dispenser. I'm going to wait my turn, or I go to the one on the other side of the fucking sink. And this is the world we live in, folks. What is Christianity? I don't know. I mean, I know what it is, but how are we supposed to live our faith? Well, you need to show the love of Jesus. And you got Christians saying, well, maybe you shouldn't have said anything. Just take it. Oh, okay. Be pushovers. Allow the current hostile gangster culture to just swim around us. You know what Christians are supposed to be? Lions and lambs, and they're supposed to be warriors, and they're supposed to stand up. No, we don't pull out a sword and cut off the high priest's ear, but we do need to take a stand. And sometimes that's going to be very, very uncomfortable. You're not going to have any friends. You're not going to have any popularity, but at least somebody's going to know, shit, that white redhead boy with long hair, he fucking went off on me. That one. And if more whites would start doing that, we could get these people to put their fucking truck in reverse and knock this shit off. But they don't, because they're afraid. You want to change this country. You want to change the church. Everybody has to stand. And this little, pardon me, G-A-Y
Femi voice mentality of these, gel back head, short haired little cheesy Christians making tons of money in ministry and promoting feel good stuff. I'm a man. That stuff doesn't cut it for me. And that right there, I didn't think I could take him. I thought, this is no contest. One punch of his fist, I'd be in the ER. But it's the principle of the thing. It's the principle of the thing. I, in so many ways, told him, and when I said, I don't need to back up, and I don't bow to you or nobody. There's some arrogant alpha blacks that need to hear a white guy as small as me, who isn't running around starting stuff, say that. Because no matter what, they got to ask themselves, what gave this guy the fucking guts to do that? Most white guys back the fuck out of my way. Yeah, but I didn't do anything to you. The Bible says something, why fear the authorities if you didn't do wrong? Why fear gangsters and troubled people? This is why neighborhoods go bad, because good people get fearful and sell their house and move out. I'm sorry, but older couples, families, they need to stand up, fold their arms across their chest, say, yo, you, we're not doing this in this neighborhood. Oh, fuck you. No, get out. But we don't. We run. We cower. Well, you should move to a better neighborhood. How about if we change the shitty one and turn it around? Isn't that what Christianity is all about? Isn't it about reclaiming what was lost and transforming it into something? Why are we doing that? So it's what I'm doing with this house. And I don't know all my neighbors here, but I don't care. They're watching me over here, all of them. I had a complete freaking lawn chair event when I started changing part of the front of my house last spring. I got out there and tore out 2 big sliding glass door panels in the front, tore out the whole wall, reframed it, 16-inch on centers, fire breaks in between the studs, put up a 3050 window with the buttons inside and the double glass vinyl, sided it, painted it, while the people across the street sat around in chairs in the front yard of the house that were going to stop, needs help. And they watched me for 8 hours. I had junk all over the yard, insulation, siding, styrofoam, trash. I picked all that crap up, threw it all in the back of my truck to make a dump run neatly, raked the yard, picked up all the tools, put everything away, and took my dang bath. I don't care what anybody says. The minute you become a Christian, you're being watched. Don't get on the treadmill of, oh, I didn't do it quite perfectly. That's why we believe in the grace of God. Okay? And I know I'm being hard on people. I'm not talking about the fact that we're imperfect. That is not. But I'm talking about an ugly, blended bunch of crap in Christendom that is just, it's like eating barfed up pudding. We need to be cutting edge. Sometimes we need to do unconventional things. You know, I've seen Christians, hi, how you doing? To a guy that hates their guts. Sometimes that guy that hates your guts, when he crosses your line, he says, whoa, 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 whoa. I got rights too, buddy. Back up. No, you back up. Remember what Paul did when they threw him into the Roman jail? Don't miss that. They sent a message to the guard, said release him, and Paul says, They threw me in here without a trial. I'm a Roman citizen. You tell them to come and get me. He stood on principle. Christians have a right. But you listen to these mamby-pamby, so-soppy Christians today, oh, you just take the insults. So you don't make a stand. You don't. Sometimes a Christian needs to be a wall, right in the way of some fool.
But we don't go and be obnoxious and stir pot with them. But when they come up and get into your grill, you got two choices, fight or flight. And flighting is for pussies. Now you have to use wisdom. You know, if you're downtown and a riot breaks out and you see 20 people running their butts after you, you better get the hell on out of there, okay? But in the workplace, we have rights against harassment, intimidation, and bullying. And I needed to say that a black gentleman came up and defended me and said what he did was wrong. I support you, and I hope you turn it. I said, I did. I told him who I went to. He said, good. When I did that, my first thought was, I'm the minority here. Nobody's going to defend me. But it didn't matter. I said, I don't care. Well, this is wrong. I'm done with this. And God just gave me that little thing the next day with somebody else. When you dare to do what is not conventional, yeah, you're going to feel alone. But God might just give you that little spark plug that comes up and says, I'm glad you did that. You might be an inspiration to somebody else. Yes, that's right. And Satan is always gnashing his teeth. I learned a trick with dogs. Now, I would not recommend everybody try this. I've had menacing dogs when I used to live in Duluth. And the bus garage was out in the country a mile before they moved to the county garage across from the city bus turnaround. And I'd walk that mile and I'd cut through one of the back streets that would line me up with the bus turnaround. And then it's dark at night, wooded, there's some houses in there, but these dogs come out. Have my ammo box with my stuff in it. Not gun stuff. I had my paperwork and my snacks and my letter writing stuff. When I did long charters, I used to write letters, old snail mail back in the day to my family and friends. And I learned a trick when I see a big black dog come running up, hair standing up, and I would stop and I stomp my foot towards it and go, get it! It works. You turn your back, you run, game on. You have to show even a dog you're the alpha, and I learned that. And I'm not an alpha, but I am. I'm not an alpha, but I am. And I learned you got to let them know. I'm not running from you. I'm walking on a public street, dog. Back up. And it'd take a couple times. I'd turn and start to walk, and you'd hear it barking, and I go, get it! And I'd just start running 5 feet towards it. That dog would turn tail and take off. And this happened a lot of times. I've done it right here. When I first bought the house, I was up on the roof. Before the roofers came, I wanted to see the condition of the roof, which was deplorable. I'm up on the ladder, and there's 2 pit bulls in my backyard standing at the bottom of the ladder. I walked the edge of the roof. I said, really? You're going to come in my yard and take me on? I came down that ladder and said, get out of here. And they tore off out of the yard. The neighbor came out and he says, oh, I'm sorry. I said, those yours? He goes, yeah. I said, okay, cool. I didn't get into his face. The dogs got tired of him. They started coming over to my yard, wagging their tails and wanted to be petted. Dogs are funny. They really are. They never bit me. All the pit bulls kept coming in my yard, wagging their tails and wanted to be petted. And I said, isn't that funny? I'm not afraid. Everybody's like, Mike, you need to be careful. No, I don't. They're coming in my yard. They're wagging their tail, want to be petted. And one day they got out of his damn garage over here and they bolted into my yard and they came up to me wagging their tails. The minute they saw him, they crouched down and tore off. Black guy, and he says, I'm sorry. I said, no problem. You can go back there and get them.
You need to come into my yard to get your dogs. I don't have a problem with that. Because I know you ain't going to fuck around over here. Yeah, I've come a long way. I remember when one of the vendors came over to talk about insect pests, pests and stuff. Young white guy, and the 3 little black girls next door, when I backed my truck up, the one in diapers, a year old, and then the 2 older ones, they're seeing me back up, they run over the fence, and the little baby would wave, and they would wave, and hi. So cute. And we're out here talking, and the 3 kids come up, and he kept looking over his shoulder, and clearly I could see he was visibly having a problem. He was scared. And I said, yeah, these are my neighbors. We get along great. Oh, really? Oh. Well, and he kept doing this. Clearly he was afraid of blacks. I said, isn't that funny how much I've grown? I brought stuff to the girls when I was cleaning out school buses in 2020. When we had the lockdown, I was cleaning buses out. And my supervisor said, throw everything on the buses out. Kids didn't get in. Drivers didn't care to get rid of it. Throw it in the dumpster. Man, I found hoodies and jackets, and I brought them home, and I said, look, I got these off the buses. You might want to wash them, but they might. Oh, yeah, I'll take them. Yeah, my daughter, my wife, man, I'll use that. I believe in recycling, being neighborly. They've moved out. Now there's a white couple there. They're pretty quiet. I don't even know they're there half the time. They didn't pay the rent during the whole COVID thing. And they did that for a whole year and used the money for rent for down on a minivan, and all got kicked out. I was kind of sad because I liked Nero. Nero turned out to be all right. I mean, I smelled the pot wafting into the yard. I never said anything about it. At least it's not coming in here. But they were never a threat to me. They told me a story one day. He had shorts on. He was walking across the yard, and I noticed that one leg was narrow. I said, Nero, what did you do to your leg? He said, I was over on Olive Road one day walking, and this car pulled up to me, and the guy said, come here. No, I'm good. I said, white or black? He said, a bunch of black guys, and Nero was black. He kept walking. They caught up again. Come here. No, I'm all right. He walked on, and then the car caught up, and he heard a noise. He heard the sound of a gun go off. And all he remembers is he hit the ground. He didn't know why he hit the ground. He looked down at his leg. It was a bleeding mess. They had shot him with a high-powered something. A black woman came across the street. The car sped off. She held him, and she said, I've called 911. Don't die. Don't die. Hold on. They never caught the guy. That same carload had shot somebody else just a few blocks before him. They were just out being assholes. They had to skin graft everything from his lower leg up to his buttocks and his thigh. He lost so much blood, he said, I didn't think I was going to make it, but he said, I'm basically disabled. And after I bought this house, one of my buddies at work had said, there was guys shot and killed right on your street there. And I said, yeah, I heard about that. Nero was telling me the story. I was standing over in his front yard, and he said, where you were standing, I had a friend who lived here before me. He said some guy tried to break in his damn house in the middle of the day. He's in there sleeping. He popped that window out and dropped him. Right here. And you know what he told me that? I rested. He said, oh, that's why somebody got shot. This wasn't some random, somebody's trying to break in somebody's house. Well, this is Georgia. We got a stand your ground benefit here. Georgia, stand your ground. And everybody here knows that.
You go up into somebody's property to fuck around here, almost everybody here owns a gun. And you go walk up uninvited and you come to make trouble. There was a black man down in Macon area, Milledgeville. 3 black teens came up to fuck with him in his yard. He dropped all 3 of them. He did not go to prison. This is not the state to fuck with your neighbors. Obviously, those of you that knew me years ago, I'm not the same. Not even close. I have more courage now. I'm more outspoken now. And a lot of the people that harassed me on this forum right here, they would not do what I did. They would not move to this. They would not put themselves in this. No way. No how. Am I particularly fond of this community? No, not at all. It all depends on God, but I have in my mind in God's time that I want to move a little further north. Carolinas, maybe West Virginia. But yeah, this is a bit too much for Michael. I'm not all into this culture down here. I love Georgia. Georgia's hot as hell in the summer. It's humid as hell. We got fire ants, termites, mosquitoes, all kinds of stinging and biting bugs and poison ivy in my yard that I constantly seem to get into. And stuff is nasty. Calamine lotion does not work. Cider vinegar works, and so does aloe vera gel. That helps dry it up to keep it from oozing and pussing. We got sumac and poison oak and everything else here. I have caught little bumps on my feet and warts and all kinds of crap. And it's like, man, what is up with George and all the afflictions? And I think of that song, the greatest fiddle tune of all time. The devil went down to Georgia. And I said, yep, he did. He sure did. I didn't see the movie The Chosen. I have no interest. It's just like, what was the Mel Gibson movie? I forgot that. A Passion. I didn't see that. I had a friend years ago that went and saw it, and he said 2 women were sitting in front of him with a big bucket of the buttered theater popcorn. Christ is getting crucified, and the women are sitting in front of him. You know, there's something just about all that. I don't want to see somebody get tortured, let alone Christ. I don't need to see that to grasp the reality of how awful that was. The biggest thing about the awfulness of that was that he did not sin. There's not a one of us that can say that we didn't sin, and he didn't. And he took all of that for us, and we still don't get it, that even in my rebellious self, when I'm working on this or I'm going through stress, I tend to yell and scream at God, and I fail to realize just who he is. God brought me right here to show myself the ugly, ugly, vile stuff that is in Pacific. And no, it's not the lust and the cussing. It's deeper than that. That we all have this innate rebellion against God, and until you're put through the crucible of the furnace, you yourself don't even know what you're capable of. So I have no patience for Thomas Kincaid, VeggieTales, Snow Globe Christians. I cannot go into those churches and get anything out of it. I'd rather go into an inner city church where drug addicts and prostitutes are getting saved and gangsters are coming out and having a relationship. I'd rather be with a cross and the switchblade group of people than a bunch of clowns. I've gotten jaded. I've gotten hard. And I do I have fear? Of course I do. I'd be a liar if I said I didn't. But do I fear some of the things I feared before? No. I went to bed the other night and I heard some fool shooting a gun again. I went to sleep. Why? My daddy's got me in his hand. That's why. And you know what I've learned? It's true what a guy said to me years ago. The safest place you can be is in the center of God's will. So go ahead, move to Tahiti and the Philippines and run and escape reality. You could die there too. But if you're in the middle of God's will, you could be in a firestorm from hell and be perfectly safe and have the peace of God. It's true. It's true. It's true. This place needs Jesus just as much as paradise does. And how much good did I do in Asia? We won't even digress. All that was folly and sin and folly and sin. And I chased a woman. I was naive as she was too. That woman today, she would be shocked if she was to come into my presence. Because I put her on a pedestal and I'd look at her and say, you still haven't grown up yet, huh? What you mean? What I mean is get out of my face. I don't even want to talk to you. I've changed. Have I gotten better? Yeah, it depends. Have I got worse? Could be. Am I being tempered? You know what tempered glass is, right? There's safety glass that has that plastic in between the pane, the sheets of glass. Tempered, you can hit it, strike it. It doesn't just break. But when it does, it goes poof. Those are your side windows of the car. Those are the worst ones when they get hit. All the little crumbs go right up in your damn face. I don't know why they don't do safety glass all the way around the vehicle. That's just my opinion. Plate glass is awful. When I was taking these big, giant sliding glass panels out of the front of the house, I thought, you know what? I don't even want to deal with these. Removing them was a surgery. I had to take out all the 2x4s and the braces. And I'd set it down, lay it down. Some of them were almost 5 feet across. I laid it down on the cement of the front porch. And I took my hammer and I went, tink, tink. This isn't going to break so easy. I had the hammer up here. I went, poof. A couple of those, 10 million crumbs. A couple of others, big, jagged, almost half-inch thick glass, plate glass. Those things will cut you up. So I took the hammer and I just continued to break it all up. Took a square steel shovel, put the trash can there. Didn't put my hands on it. They're not going to be reused. They had aluminum frames. They were sliding glass door sets dismantled, used as windows. My coworkers come by and they said, my gosh, you changed it. Look at that damn place. It looks way better. We have to make a difference where we are in the only way we can. We may not reach the world for Jesus. I heard Pastor say something I disagreed with today. He said, if you're not reaching souls for Jesus, I said, hold on. What did Paul say? Some are called to plant, some are called to water, some make the harvest. You got to be careful there. God has used me to reach souls, but I kind of stopped at about 2004. And I missed that. I liked having that influence. My cousin was the last that God allowed me to reach. We're living at different times. It's more difficult. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I like Georgia. It's forced. I'm glad I've experienced the South. This is stretching me, though. I don't want to go back to the frozen north, but I still look fondly when I have memoirs of walking from the bus garage. When I miss the last city bus and I walk 8 miles and cut through the woods, through Woodland Avenue, and the moon is coming down on all the snow through the big pines and spruces, and you're walking through the snow and you can see your breath. There's something beautiful about that. There's something beautiful about walking along the edge of Lake Superior when it's 25 below and there's a wind blowing. And the bay is frozen, you can hear what sounds like thunder. as that 3 foot of ice is contracting and expanding and cracking and doing whatever it does. It is a sound that makes you go, what the heck was that? The winter is a beautiful thing. It's harsh, but it's beautiful. We are only going to have power as Christian people as God breaks us of vileness that is within ourselves. A lot of you looked up to me, and I haven't been on here as much. I was doing everything on Facebook. I dumped the account. It's the best thing I've ever done. I'm sick of Zuckerberg censorship. Now they're limiting how much I can post. And I just said, you know what? Bye. This house has brought me to my knees. I have cussed, I have yelled, I have screamed. I should have bulldozed it and started over. And then it hit me. Michael, don't you think that God feels that way about you? I'm sure he does. That's called honest Christianity. All this other stuff's a bunch of dog and pony show. Are you being stretched? Are you being stuck over the refiner's fire? You know why all that ugly stuff is coming up? Because you know how you get pure gold? I know you know how to get pure gold. You heat it up to intense heat. Actually, the purest form of gold is actually white or clear, I think, if I remember metallurgy correctly. But there's the guy that removes the dross. He pulls this thing across the top of that and pulls all the impurities out. God is not interested in comfortable Christians. Oh my gosh, I wish he was, because I hate all the pain and suffering. I have railed at him for that. I said, you enjoy watching us suffer. You treat us like lab rats. I have had it out with him. And there are silly little materialistic Christians who go, you should never talk to God like that. You're right. But I have. You know, this idea that relationships are peaches and cream is a misnomer. When you really start to have a relationship with God is when you really start questioning him and getting upset so that God can say, now I got your attention. Now you're finally talking to me. Yeah, you're being disrespectful and rude and screaming and yelling because you don't know. But you're finally getting somewhere. And it made me realize I had a lot of wrong beliefs about God. God is not in the business of our comfort. And there's times he gives us blessings. There's times he gives us rest. There's times he gives us peace and he gives us a break from the shit that we got to go through. But I think the greatest danger facing American Christians is they're too comfy. And that's why the church has been wholly ineffective. God's not done with me yet. But those same materialistic Christians would judge me for my long hair, my chain, my cussing, my this, my that. They'd write me off. The women say, oh, you're not godly enough. You're right. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm a lot closer to the flame than you are because you have easy street. I wouldn't want to be with you. I want to be with a woman who's been through the shit and understands. I want to be with a woman who can look me in the eye and say, I'm so vile. God has shown me my ugly self. Oh, honey, I love you. Thank you. Because you don't get that out of women today. When I talk about women on here, it's not just a rant. It's a fact. They don't see themselves as they really are. When you become a Christian, one of two things happens. You learn to play the game of let's make believe. Or as that church in Lakewood said years ago, the preacher looked like Mark Zuckerberg. They said, fake it until you make it. Is that what God is looking for? No. He's going to heat up our life. He's going to make us uncomfortable. He's going to back you into a corner where you start yelling and screaming. And that's where God's going to say, I got you. I got you right where I want you. I want you to see this, Michael. You're in rebellion to me, and all of us are. I am, you are, and don't think you're not. It's nice when you think you dotted your I's and crossing your T's. But you don't. You think you do. I don't have all the answers, but I do know the one who has them. I don't know everything, but I know more than I did before. Do I have this ravenous desire to go to the Philippines and Asia? It's gone. You know why? Because I'm growing. I'm getting old. I'm done with pie in the sky chasing silly little women around. I have a friend who's moving in. I'm finishing up a bedroom in the house. I did a nice closet with a black iron pipe for the clothing. I don't believe in clothes pulls in the closet that bend and break, and wood. Did some staining and painting and getting the room done. It will be nice to have somebody living here that we can talk without me going, you what? Don't put a picture in your mind. In due time, we'll both be here talking. You won't expect her when you see her. Okay? You're not going to picture what you're thinking. She's an average-looking American woman. But she's got a good head on her shoulders and she's got a beautiful heart. Yeah, Pacific has changed. God put me through all this. Chasing all these silly little, pardon me, Asian girls around that are slut teases and attention whores all over social media. You want that? Our life in this country is getting hard. I don't want to bring somebody from overseas that I got to play interference and say, no, you can't go walking in this neighborhood. What you mean? You cannot go walking in this neighborhood as a young, pretty Asian lady. You will be raped or dragged in a car and killed. No. I'd rather have an American woman who can stand her ground. I'd rather have a woman that understands me and understands our culture and understands the political climate so that we can sit down and say, did you see that crap on the news? Yeah, that's ridiculous. I want fellowship. I want fellowship. I want somebody to talk to other than this computer all day. Yeah, I've changed. Stay tuned. I'm hoping for this to be something positive. I think it'd be nice to bring a female persona in here. We're not the same. We're the same in ideologies, beliefs, and politics and everything. She's neat. She's financially responsible. She takes care of herself. I think you guys will like her. But what I hope for is that the two of us can take this channel and do something with it. Now, making big money, I doubt. But I think having a female on here and talking about talking points and the current climate, talking about church and all the various issues, and she's never done this. So I'll have to, she'll get good in time. But she wanted to be, she wants to be part of the channel. She wants to talk. She wants to get on here. So I have some hopeful expectations. I want to thank those of you that take the time to listen. And if any of you have been secretly and quietly praying for me, thank you for that. I need it. My channel's been an evolution of me too. The damn Maharani Chronicles and all the crap that happened. The world has changed massively. It has changed so much. And it's changing at an alarming freight trade with no brakes, going straight into the bottom of the Grand Canyon type of speed. We need God. We need each other. We don't need toys. We need relationships with God and people. Even I get that. Most Americans have a relationship with their wallet, their car, themselves, their TikTok. But how are we going to change the world? The church with their snow globe Hallmark movies is not doing it. You have to get up out of your chair. And you got to get out there in the flow. And you got to engage with some hostility and some people you don't like. And you may never change them. But then they start to get used to you. And one day they might turn around and say, hey, a woman I've known for 4 years invited me to her house today. She needed me to help her with my truck to move stuff. I took her through here. She said, I would have never known you knew how to do it. You did all this. I went to her house. Hers is a 1977, and she didn't have to do what I had to do. It's brick. It's a nice home. She said, I like what you've done. That is unique. That is really cool. And I'm not going to go through on YouTube and do a tour in here. I'd love to, but because of trolls and idiots, no. You see the wall behind me. It just gets better all the way through here. I did that. I did that. Because God used this house as a crucible. I've nicknamed this house Struggle. I don't know what it was like when this house was built in 53. I imagine times were simpler here. But this house has seen a lot of damn people in here. I still get the smell. It was abused. It was neglected. You know, God takes broken, damaged stuff and he saves us. And he doesn't just throw us in the dump. He restores us to him. He transforms us. When you work in the yard and you work on a building, Christian principles start to click. You go, wow, I'm getting frustrated with this. The nail's not going into the wood. They bend. I use the screws and the screw nut strips out of the screw. What is going on? And I get the hex shape screw heads and I'm like, you're drilling into petrified 2x4s. In the South, yeah, they're hard as stone. And I get yelling and cussing and frustrated. I go, man, why is this house such a problem? And I can hear God laughing. Do you know how many times I've said that about you and your stubbornness? If you use what God has put before you and told you to do, you'll see the object lessons and you'll start to laugh and go, oh yeah, God's probably getting frustrated with me too. A relationship isn't a relationship until you grow or get mad or misunderstand. And the religious bulwarks, you know, the self-righteous will say, well, if you really mature in the faith, you would never question God. You're right. If I was really mature in the faith, but does that mean you are more than me? Because you didn't go through any of this where you question him? I pity the day when the real stuff hits you. You're going to find some nasty crap coming out of your heart. So yeah, I think I'm ahead of you right now. I get it. God has to show us ourselves to ourselves before we can really glorify him. This is my belief. The rest is just ignorance and game playing. When we become a Christian, we get consumed with the knowledge of the Bible. We grow spiritually, our mind, but we're shocked at this other nasty thing that doesn't go away. That sin nature, that old man, the flesh. It's just fighting every single day. Oh gosh, those two topless women kissing each other. And then there are those times when I stop and go, you know, God, I cannot wait for the day when I am done with this crap in my head. You boys know what I'm talking about. You got it too. Whatever it is, it might not be the same as what it is for me, but you got something. some piece of doo-doo you think is entertaining to look at. You know, when you really think about it, all this stuff that we like that's displeasing to God is nothing but dookie. And we think, ooh, that's fun. But then once in a while, if you're truly a Christian, you step outside of yourself and go, you know what? I'm tired of looking at this crap. What is wrong with me? Oh, well, you're human. Paul says, I do the things I do not want to do, and the evil I want, or the good I want to do, I do not end up doing, but the evil that is in me, I do that. It's called the doo-doo chapter. And Christians want to explain all this away and say, well, that was Paul talking about before he was saved. Wrong answer, Ronald. Before Paul was saved, there was no conflict. It's when we get saved that the conflict begins. The old nature versus the new nature. And you fight and have and you cannot have because, yeah, all that good stuff. And you know what? Sin becomes more appealing when you're a Christian. Because now we know what's wrong. What did Paul say about the law? When the law came up, then the law was designed to show us we were sinful. See, the Jews thought if they follow the law and dotted their I's and crossed their T's, they'll get into heaven and have blessing of God. God said, no. What did he say? What did Paul say? No flesh shall be justified in the sight of the law. The law was the tutor. It was supposed to show us how sinful we are. Don't believe me? Look at the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus simply expanded upon what the Jewish people were ignoring about the full intent of the law. You have heard that it was said, thou shalt not commit adultery. And the Pharisees said, yeah, that's right. We haven't done it. Jesus said, but I say unto you, if you've even looked at a woman with lust in your heart, you've already done it. Ouch. You've heard it said, thou shalt not murder. Nope, we didn't murder anybody. We're righteous. But you hated your brother. Jesus didn't change a thing. He just went to the straight intent of the law. You know, just not committing adultery doesn't mean you followed the commandments. No, you didn't physically go and Humpty Dumpty some chick. But look at the way they handled the woman caught in adultery. Where was the husband that was involved? How come he was never brought to the fire pit? You see, Jesus saw through these clowns. His harshest words were for the religious leaders. Not us, not the drunk and the sinner and the hooker, the Samaritan woman. No, they were for them. He basically, in so many words, says, God is standing right in your midst and you don't recognize who I am. And you're saying I cast out devils by the power of the devil. That's rich. Have we ever really thought about that? Can you imagine standing there and here's God right there and they are trolling and gaslighting him? Stupid. And the worst kangaroo court in history. And the Jews, they were manipulative as hell. Well, if you don't do this, then you're no friend of Herod. All right, that's it. I wash my hands. Everybody's guilty. Pilate submitted because he was not going to have his reputation shamed in front of the Jews. Kangaroo court, he even admitted several times, I find no basis for these charges. And he was hoping to appease him. Okay, it gives me the right to release him. To release Barabbas. And Pilate's sitting there going, what is going on right now? These people are irrational. Who are you? He comes up and asks Jesus, and Jesus just sits there stone-faced. Do you not know I have the power to hand you over to death? Why are you not answering me? Or answer me? Jesus is awesome. You wouldn't have that power unless it was first given to you from above. Do what you got to do. I'm sure Pilate was having a conflict. You know he was. I think his own wife came to him in a dream and said, be careful how you handle this man. Be very careful. Yeah, Jesus is like a tar baby. You can't avoid it. Either way, you're going to make a mess of yourself, depending on how you deal with this. Can God use Pacific Ocean Asia? Yes. Is he right now? There are people that say I'm being used, but I want to know from my Father, am I? That's the only right answer is what he says. So you got ministries all over this country with Rick Warren, Greg Laurie, and they're saying a lot of stuff. They're writing a lot of books and they're making a lot of money. Are they really bringing glory to God? A lot of them, to me, are bringing glory to themselves. The Bible says a man who controls himself is greater than he. What is it? You guys know it. Greater than he who, the warriors who protect the city. I believe that. This internet has got us shamed into thinking, oh, I'm not on Facebook. I'm in jail. Oh, I'm having heart palpitations. What was I doing on Facebook? Wasting time. A surrogate activity book. Looking at all the girls you cannot have that you don't want anyway. Posting this, posting that. Yes, I agree. Haha, that's funny. Let's go on the roller coaster again. Can't wait to get home and see on Facebook what they thought of my post. Are we that crazy? Uh-huh. Having somebody here and getting off of that social media would be nice. I've been reading Clive Cussler. I love his books. He just goes into deep, cool stuff. And it'll be nice to have somebody in here where we can read, engage each other. Social media. I'm going to tell you what to do. But it's a waste of time for most of us. But we don't see it. Until God says, you know what? What are you doing here? Every time when I'm off work on a weekend and I do work on my house, I feel so productive. When I sit around and waste all my time on the internet, it causes depression. Going to church today, giving my tithe, helping a friend, raking my front yard, that was productive. Sitting on the internet and spinning in Facebook and porn just doesn't cut it. Thank you for listening, viewers. And y'all have a good evening. And it is 2024. Let's hope for better things.